government scraps big changes to nursery care.
Anti-terror police investigate a suspected arson attack on an Islamic cultural centre.
The proudest post is FBI leader.
And follow that. 50 years on from JFK, Ryan Obama plans to follow in his footsteps.
This is ITV News at 10 with Mark Austin and Julie Etchingham.
Good evening. As the world wrings its hands over what to do about Syria, the military iron fist of President Assad has seized back control of a key town long held by rebel forces. The loss of Qusair is not necessarily a turning point, but it does suggest that with Russian and Iranian help, President Assad is far from beaten. As for arming the rebels, David Cameron is now being warned against it by his own security advisors. Neil Connery has our report.
Syrian army tanks roll into the heart of Qusair, this key town now firmly in the grip of President Assad's forces. State television making the most of this victory against the rebels.
Right.
The regime's view that whoever controls Qusair controls the centre of Syria. The fierce battle here has seen fighters from the Lebanese Shia militant group Hezbollah cross into Syria and fight alongside the regime's forces, their intervention proving too much for the rebels. We have nearly 1,000 wounded people here, this man says, but the outside world has forgotten us. The town of Qusair is close to the Lebanese border, a key supply route for weapons for both the regime and the rebels. So taking the city gives President Assad a vital corridor of control, linking Damascus with Homs and Latakia further north. But it's not necessarily game-changing. The rebels still have strong footholds in large cities, such as Idlib and Aleppo. I managed to travel to Qusair last year and saw Syrian tanks and troops during a brief lull in the fighting. But even then, people feared President Assad's forces would take revenge on the town for supporting the rebels.
Maybe 2 or 3 weeks, not more. And he will come back to show some chilling.
As other governments
I'm going
consider
mad
their
here.
next moves, here the Prime Minister said any decision for Britain to arm Syrian rebels would have to be voted on first by Parliament.
I
The
should
French
stop at some
President
point.
François Hollande claimed the growing proof of chemical weapons use in Syria obliges the international community to act.
Britain and France are collecting evidence that chemical weapons are being used, undoubtedly so. I think that's relatively unwelcome news, because it indicates that we've got
Big
to do something
reveal.
about this red line that is clearly being crossed, and we have said we will react to. I don't think we'll react anytime soon.
As regime forces establish control in Qusair, international efforts to secure a Syria peace conference are facing huge challenges. Neil Connery, ITV News.
Well, our political editor Tom Bradley is in Downing Street tonight. And Tom, it's all getting very difficult, isn't it? Where does this leave Anglo-French strategy now?
Well, it is getting difficult. I think David Cameron's been told by his security advisors that they believe that the Assad regime has used chemical weapons on at least 6 verifiable occasions, possibly more. That, in theory, would cross one of President Obama's red lines. You put that together with the kind of ramping up of strategy and rhetoric over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and you'd think we were moving towards arming the rebels or perhaps more drastic military action. But I'm told that David Cameron's security advisors in here are extremely nervous about that and are putting that view across in no uncertain terms. They're suspicious of the rebels, particularly the jihadi element of them. They're not particularly
Just
sure
do a
that
parting down the back of my head.
would be that much more sympathetic to the West. They don't like the way things have turned out in Libya, where we unequivocally supported the rebels. So I think the reality is that it's unlikely to be any drastic change of strategy soon. And I think where that leaves us and what they're contemplating in here tonight is the very real possibility that the Assad regime will regain control, if not of all of the country, then a large part of it.
Right, and the real danger, of course, is the impact this could all have on the wider Middle East region.
Yes, I mean, that's
Probably
right.
the
Go back
most
a year ago,
interesting
it looked like
thing
the
about
Assad
this
regime was
video
about to
is what's
fall, but Iran was looking pretty shaky.
going
too.
on
So
in the
that was
news in the
intelligence being put on
background.
David Cameron's desk. They committed a lot of effort to Syria. It wasn't going well. That was unpopular inside Iran, even within, he was told, certainly at the top of the regime. Where are they now?
That'll do.
Well, it looks like